Hello, I'm Kate Nunsuch, and I'm going to be giving you a demonstration of how I would mark a math exercise using a marking for confidence technique. Marking for confidence is really important because it gives people a sense, gives the learner a sense that they can do the math, and so that means they're probably willing to try the next one. And also it helps you turn a marking situation into a teaching situation. So I'll just show you an example here. Sometimes you look at a page of fractions that a learner brings, and so your job as a teacher is first to look at the page as the learner brings it to you and make a quick check so that you can mentally see where they've made their mistakes, so you know what you want to help them with. But you don't mark anything yet. I'm not going to mark anything wrong here, but I am going to help the learner figure out what needs to be looked at and what needs to be kept in mind when you're adding fractions in this case. So the sheet starts off with some fractions that have the same denominator. Looks like the learner can do those all right, has even done this one all right. This is just me mentally, it's not talking out loud to the learner yet. But then I notice, like so many learners, when it switches over to different denominators, suddenly big mistakes happen. So I've taken a quick look. I know where I'm going to go, so then I start working with the learner. The first thing I do is look at this one, and I mark it right. Good, I say, that's right. And that just makes the learner relax a little bit, because got it right? All right, now we can take in some of the other things. So I say, how did you do that? What was your thinking? Well, he says, you just, you add the tops and the bottom stays the same. Right, I say, you add the tops, the bottoms are the same, so they stay the same. Then I look at the next one. 1 6 plus 2 6 is 3 6. Well, I notice he hasn't reduced, but I'm not worrying about that. That's a minor problem. So I'm going to say, yes, that makes 3 6. I'm going to say, how did you do that? Well, he said, you add the tops, the bottoms stay the same, so you just write it across. I say, so what is it about these bottoms? Well, they're the same, he says. So I go on to another question on that same page that has denominators the same. I'm just going to ask you to imagine them over here. 1/8 plus 4/8, and I mark that right. I say, so what was your thinking? How did you figure that one out? Well, he says, this time he's rolling his eyes at me because I've asked him so many times. The bottom numbers are the same, he said, so you add the tops and the bottom and the answer is the same. So when I see that he's getting impatient because he really has articulated so many times that you check the bottom numbers, they're the same, so you add the tops, then I go on to this one. I say, well, look, 1/2 plus 1/4. That one's right, I say. But I said, the bottom numbers are different. How did you figure that out? Well, he says, I just know that. I know that because, if you have a 1/2 cup of coffee, or you have a 1/2 chocolate bar and a 1/4 chocolate bar, that's 3/4. Or somehow he knows that. And I say, well, let's have a look at here. What's your thinking? Well, by this time, he's so used to saying from up here, well, the bottom numbers are the same. He just says it automatically. Bottom numbers aren't the same. So then I get to turn it into a teaching situation. What do you do if the bottom numbers aren't the same? And then we go over what you do. When it's right, when the learner has changed the answer there, I mark it right. And then I say, so let's have a look at the next one. Oh, he says the bottom numbers aren't the same, and we review what you do, how you change those, make them into the same denominator. He makes the changes, corrects that up, and I mark it right. The next one, until I'm sure, then I'm confident that he's confident, and I can say, all right, could you have a look at the rest of them here? And he'll be willing to check the rest of his answers with this new knowledge that he's got, and I'll come back and mark them all right. Sometimes people say to me, what happens if they bring it up and it's all wrong, there aren't any right? Well, that's the time when I'll just take responsibility for the whole thing. Oh, I'll say, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have given you this sheet. I didn't know that you weren't clear about what to do. Or, I forgot that you weren't here yesterday when we taught that, so I shouldn't have given you this today. Or whatever, so that the learner understands that his not being able to do that is part of a whole lot of complex things that involve my ability to explain things, his ability to attend to things, his ability to remember, emotional factors. A whole lot of things go into whether or not he can do this page correctly. And so I'll just say, sorry, I should never have given you this sheet. Let me show you how to do it, and we start again. And then I have a fresh sheet for him. Marking for confidence, probably the most important thing I do. And you can call it teaching for confidence if you want to. Thanks.